Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be predicting the whole complete AFL season along with finals. We'll be using the website Squggle. I used it last season about halfway through for my predictions. This time we'll start it right at the beginning of the season. We may review this halfway through the season to see how I went. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into Squggle, let's have some fun, and let's see if my predictions even out with what happens in the real life AFL. Let's go. We're here on Squggle, and we already know round one. I already did my round one tips yesterday, so if you guys didn't see that video, I'll link it in the description below. But here we are, Richmond versus Carlton. I think I said by 27 points, so I'm gonna go Richmond by 27. Friday night football. Then Collingwood. I think I did Collingwood by 13. For round one. I did Fremantle by 20, I think. So round one is alright. But this is going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. I think I did Geelong by like 70. Oh. Can't go any higher than that. Alright, let's just do Geelong by 63, sure. I think I did Essendon. I can't remember how much by. So I'm just going to go Essendon by 15 points. I feel like this is going to be one of the very good games of the round. Both teams not predicted to do very well this season, but they do have a rivalry here. So Essendon by 15, we'll see how that goes. I think I said Brisbane by 30 odd, 32. Port Adelaide, they're going to smack North Melbourne. I said Saint Kilda. I'm going to go Saint Kilda by 15 as well. And West Coast are going to win quite comfortably over the Gold Coast Suns at home. I reckon so. So after round one, Port Adelaide and Geelong amongst the tops with Adelaide and North Melbourne down the bottom. I feel like that's pretty realistic going into that one. We've got West Coast, Brisbane, Richmond, Fremantle, Essendon and St Kilda in the top 8. This is going to be interesting. I reckon Carlton won it by 3 points. So they bounced back after that little bit of a loss to Richmond. Geelong versus Brisbane, rematch of the preliminary final. Retirement at home Cats will win by 11 as at Cardinia Park. Sydney versus Adelaide SCG. This is a tough one. I feel like Sydney are going to get home by like 15 points. It's going to be a bit of a closer game. Both teams quite evenly matched, I predict. Port Adelaide versus Essendon. Port Adelaide should get home by like 28 points. St Kilda versus Melbourne. St Kilda are going to have a good season this year, I predict. They're going to get home by 21. Gold Coast versus North Melbourne. Matty Rowell will be man of the match and they'll get home by 27 points. Hawthorne versus Richmond MCG. Richmond will win this one quite comfortably by 35. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast Eagles at the Docklands. This is a tough one. Bulldogs, will they go 0-2 to start the season with their predicted midfield? I don't think so. They'll win by 10 points. Fremantle versus GWS at Perth Stadium. Alright, I gave Fremantle 1 win. I don't think they'll beat the Giants. The Giants, they're not predicted to do too well this season, but I think they're better than Fremantle. Giants win by 19 points. Now up to round 3. Brisbane versus Collingwood at the Gabba. Brisbane finally get their season started. They win by 19 over Collingwood. North Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. This is just a percentage boost for them. They win by 36. Adelaide versus Gold Coast. Gold Coast come out just like they did last year and pump them. 37-point winners. Richmond versus Sydney. Will Longmire put the whole team in defense again? I'm not too sure. I don't think they will. Richmond by 20 points. Essendon versus St Kilda. St Kilda starting extremely well this season, I'm predicting. They're going to win by 27. West Coast versus Port Adelaide at Perth Stadium. This is an interesting one. Optus Stadium. I don't know why they're calling it Perth Stadium. It's a bit weird. Optus Stadium. Ooh, do Port Adelaide sneak one here? I don't think they do. West Coast at Optus Stadium are quite good. I reckon it's going to be a close game. 8-point game. Umpires will get involved in that one. Port Adelaide fans will not be happy. Carlton versus Fremantle at Docklands. Alright, is that Marvel Stadium? I'm not too sure. Carlton by 11 points. GWS versus Melbourne at Giant Stadium or at Manuka Oval. I don't even know. It's very weird how they don't have the proper ovals in the game in this predictor. But I've been really rough on Melbourne so far. Oh, I have been. And I predicted them to do well. But I feel like the Giants are going to steal this one as well. So the Melbourne Demons are going to start slow. Giants by 16 points. Geelong versus Hawthorne MCG. Is that a Monday? It could be, but this is going to be quite a boring game. Geelong by 34 points. Round 4. Sydney versus Essendon. Do Essendon get a win? There's a lot of teams. Actually, no, Essendon already have a win. Do Sydney... SCG... Essendon, Sydney... I think Sydney may take this one. Take this one by like about 12 points. Port Adelaide versus Richmond. Port Adelaide will get revenge on the Tigers for that preliminary final loss. It will be a 10-point win, very close. Sort of like their Adelaide Oval match last year. It was a very high-scoring game. Port Adelaide will edge them out at the end of that contest. Western Bulldogs versus Brisbane Lions. Eureka Stadium. Western Bulldogs. Ooh. You know what? The Bulldogs are coming this season, and they're going to edge them out by 20 points. They're going to edge out the Lions by 20 points. Interesting stuff. The Lions drop out to 8. That's dangerous stuff from them. Docklands. Oh, I reckon the Eagles win this one by 16 points. They've got some quality. So St Kilda drop down to 6th. Gold Coast versus Carlton. Carrara Stadium. Carlton. They're predicted to do not too bad this season. And they're going to continue that form. They're going to win by 16 points. They jump into the 8th. They've dropped into the 8. Collingwood versus GWS. Round 4. Collingwood will win this one by 20 points. They jump into 9th. GWS go down to 11th. Round 4. North Melbourne versus Adelaide at the Docklands. So that is Marvel Stadium it would be. You know what? Adelaide get a win here by 15 points. They jump up to 15th. Oh goodness. Melbourne versus Geelong at the MCG. Geelong by 25. Melbourne are struggling. Hawthorne are struggling. Fremantle versus Hawthorne at Optus Stadium. Fremantle are going to win it. Fremantle are going to win by like 25 points. I feel bad. I feel bad for Hawthorne, Melbourne and North Melbourne right now. Round 5, St Kilda versus Richmond at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda are going to win this one. St Kilda are going to win this one by 18 points. 3 goals. Jack Higgins could go off again. St Kilda win this one. They jump into 2nd spot on the ladder. West Coast versus Collingwood at Optus Stadium. It won't be a rematch of the elimination final. Eagles will be pissed off about that performance and they'll come out and win by 5 goals. They jump into 2nd. Collingwood are sliding. Western Bulldogs versus Gold Coast. Western Bulldogs are going to win by 15 points in a bit of an arm wrestle. Sydney versus GWS at the SCG. Giants are going to come back and respond and win by... they're going to win by 28 points. Carlton versus Port Adelaide. No Robbie Gray winner, but Port Adelaide will get the job done by 29 points. They jump into 2nd. Brisbane Lions versus Essendon at the Gabba. The Lions will get back on track after their last loss. They'll win by 30 points against the Bombers. They jump back into the 8. Adelaide versus Fremantle at Adelaide Oval. Fremantle make a response and they win by 44 points in a high-scoring affair. They destroy them. Hawthorne versus Melbourne at the MCG. Both teams are winless after 4 rounds. One of them get the win, and unfortunately, it is the Demons that get the win, and they will kickstart their season. They will start to get on a roll, I predict. They win it. Round 5, Geelong versus North Melbourne. The Geelong Cats decide to smack them around. And that's how it goes. GWS versus Western Bulldogs. Brawls everywhere on that one. Bulldogs take it by 30 points, 31 points there. They jump into 2nd. Geelong versus West Coast at Cardinia Park. We already know how the Cats play at Cardinia Park. That is a 27-point win. And they are looking very, very good so far this season. Gold Coast versus Sydney at Carrara. Is that Metricon? I don't know what's going on there. Gold Coast. Oh, this is a tough one. Gold Coast will win. Matty Rao is going to have a decent year. I reckon it's going to be a 10-point win. Carlton versus Brisbane Lions at Marvel Stadium. Brisbane Lions are slowly starting to get back up. They win by 4 goals. They're slowly climbing. Richmond are 3-2 on my ladder prediction right now. But MCG Tigers, they win by 35 points. They run away in the last quarter against the D's. Fremantle versus North Melbourne. They're Fremantle playing well. They win by 24 points. That's a 4-goal win. Fremantle jump into the top 5. Wow. I do have them predicted good with their young core, but this is something amazing. York Park. Hawthorne finally get a win, and it is a big one. They win by 50 points. They are not happy. They jump up to 14th. They get a massive win. They respond in amazing fashion. Collingwood versus Essendon Anzac Day. Is that Anzac Day? It could be Anzac Day. Collingwood are going to get the chocolate by 20 points in what should be a cracking match. They jump into 10th. Port Adelaide versus St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide are going to edge them out by 16 points. And they jump into 2nd. St Kilda are sliding down in the 8th. Round 7. Brisbane Lions versus Port Adelaide at the Gabba. Brisbane Lions take this one by 22 points. Lions jump into 4th. Collingwood versus Gold Coast MCG. Collingwood win by 30. They have a good game. They win by 30 and they jump into 9. Gold Coast slide down a bit. Essendon versus Carlton MCG. Sorry Carlton fans. The Bombers get a win. Carlton have a really poor game. Essendon get the win. Carlton drop. Essendon climb. North Melbourne versus Melbourne. Don't North Melbourne always get the win over Melbourne? I know it happens at Blundstone Oval, I think. But the Demons are going to break that drought. I think the drought may have already been broken. But that's alright. North Melbourne versus Melbourne. Melbourne win by 20 points. Richmond versus Western Bulldogs. MCG, the Tigers win by 26 points and they jump into 2nd spot. St Kilda versus Hawthorne. St Kilda have to win these games if they want to be a top side. And I'm going to predict they do. They win by 15 points. They jump into 6th. Sydney versus Geelong. Geelong are the flat track bullies. They smash them by 40 points. Adelaide versus Jeddah West at Adelaide Oval. Giants win by 30. The Derby. West Coast versus Fremantle. West Coast win by 12 points in what should be a very even affair. Gold Coast versus St Kilda. Carrara Stadium. Saints win by 22. They jump into 2nd. St Kilda are predicted to play extremely well this season due to my predictions. We'll see how things fare throughout the season, but this is looking interesting. Jeddah West versus Essendon. Essendon are going to steal one here. Sydney Showground, they're going to steal one by 7 points in a close game. Hawthorne versus West Coast at the MCG. Would you believe it, lads? Would you believe it? Hawthorne upset. 15 points. They jump up. Melbourne versus Sydney. They're starting to get on the rise. They're getting momentum now. 37-point victors. They jump into 11th. I told you they're coming back. North Melbourne versus Collingwood. North Melbourne get the easy chocolates by 19 points. Richmond versus Geelong MCG Grand Final rematch. Tigers take this one by 5 points in a cracker of a game. Western Bulldogs versus Carlton at Marvel. Bulldogs win by 17 points. They jump into 3rd. Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. Port Adelaide win by 48 points in a cracking showdown. They jump into 2nd. Fremantle versus Brisbane Lions. The Lions win by 11 points out in Perth. They jump into the top 4. Essendon versus Fremantle. Essendon get the win at Marvel. They jump up to 11. They're playing better than I predicted. Gold Coast versus Brisbane Lions. Brisbane Lions win the Q Clash by 5 goals. They jump into second. Hawthorne versus North Melbourne at York Park. Hawthorne win this one by 20 points. Melbourne vs Carlton, round 9, MCG. Carlton come back and they win by 15 points. They jump up to 11th after a big slide. Richmond vs GWS at Marvel Stadium. Richmond put their foot on their throats and demolish the Giants. St Kilda vs Geelong. This is a tough game. I feel like the Cats, they're going to edge them out there by 10 points. Sydney versus Collingwood. Collingwood come back and they win by 22. Now, Port Adelaide versus Western Bulldogs. At Adelaide Oval, it's a tough one. 4th versus 5th. Port Adelaide edge them out by 13 points. They jump into second. It's very, very interesting. Cats holding onto that top spot. Everyone else is flipping around. West Coast get Adelaide at Optus Stadium and they smack them by 49 points. No O'Brien tweets to Nick Natanui this time, I don't think so. Brisbane versus Richmond at the Gabba. Richmond like playing Brisbane at the Gabba, but the Lions are going to edge them out by 11 points. They're going to show that their quality this year. They jump into second. It's a very talented top 4. Carlton versus Hawthorne at the MCG. Hawthorne are slowly starting to get back on track. Carlton are trying to pursue a top 8 spot, and they will get that top 8 spot by 3 goals. They jump into 9th. That's interesting. Collingwood versus Port Adelaide at the MCG. Port Adelaide run away by 35 points in the end of that one. And they will take, give me 35. They will take back second spot. Collingwood are still in the 8. Percentage is a little bit of a danger one though. Essendon versus North Melbourne. Lads, it's happened. North Melbourne get the win by 7 points and Adelaide have dropped to 18th spot on the ladder. It's a wooden spoon race just like last year. Geelong versus Gold Coast at GMHBA Stadium. Geelong win by 38 points and they maintain that top spot on the ladder. GWS versus West Coast. Here we are. West Coast win by 17 points. Western Bulldogs versus St Kilda. Round 10. Interesting stuff to see. Western Bulldogs win by 13 points. St Kilda, nothing changes there. They keep their spots. Adelaide versus Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. Melbourne come into Adelaide Oval and win by 25 points and they jump up to 11th spot. Fremantle versus Sydney. Fremantle are trying to keep their touch within the top 8 as well. They jump into 9th. Brisbane versus GWS at the Gabba. Brisbane are like, hey, we need to win these games to maintain top touch with the top 8 sides. They go into second. Collingwood versus Geelong at the MCG. I can't see Geelong losing these games. Geelong win by 18 points and they're 10-1. Richmond versus Adelaide at the MCG. Boy oh boy, wow wee, that's a 49 point win. And Adelaide aren't looking any better this year. St Kilda versus North Melbourne, and this is a bit of a blight as well. Saints by 58, they jump into 6th. Sydney versus Carlton at the SCG. Unfortunately for Carlton fans, Sydney get a good run and they get a win. That's going to hurt Carlton later in the season. Western Bulldogs versus Melbourne at Marvel. Bulldogs love to play at Marvel. They win by 25 and they jump into 5th spot on the ladder. Gold Coast versus Hawthorne, round 11. Hawthorne win by 15 points. Sorry, Gold Coast fan. Matty Rao, he's struggling a little bit. Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. You wouldn't believe it, lads. Fremantle win by 17 points. And that's a big shift in the standings. Fremantle go into 8th spot. And they have some faith, these boys. West Coast versus Essendon at Optus. 37 points the margin. Carlton versus West Coast. At the MCG. I'm doing it, lads. I'm doing it. Carlton steal it. I don't know how. They beat West Coast at the MCG by 3 points. Essendon versus Richmond. Essendon win by 26. They jump into second. St Kilda versus Sydney. St Kilda win by 20. Adelaide versus Collingwood. Collingwood, it's like, hey, we need percentage. They jump into 8. Melbourne versus Brisbane at Traeger Park. Tough game. Brisbane win by 9 points. They jump into second. Fremantle versus Western Bulldogs at Optus. Bulldogs win by 20 points. They jump into the top 4. Melbourne versus Collingwood at the MCG. Is that the Queen's birthday? I think it is. I think it could be. And Collingwood win by 24 points. Now we got North Melbourne versus Geelong. North Melbourne get the win. Not Geelong, GWS, sorry, but they still get the win. GWS have a bit of a shocker there. Kazali Stadium, St Kilda having a bit of a laugh. 38-point winners. Sydney versus Hawthorne SCG. Sydney win by 13 points. Port Adelaide versus Geelong. Tough game, but Port Adelaide get it done by 3 goals. That opens up the competition huge. Fremantle versus Gold Coast, Perth Stadium, Optus Stadium. Fremantle win by 39 points. They're starting to string together some good efforts. Geelong versus Western Bulldogs, round 14. Would you believe it? The Cats are not going on a slide, but it's a close game. The Cats win by 11. Gold Coast versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide win by 30 points. They're climbing. They go into second. GWS versus Carlton. GWS win by 19 points. They jump into 11th. It's looking pretty good so far. Hawthorne versus Essendon. Essendon got the win this time. Hawthorne come back and take the win this time. They go to 15th. They win by 15 points. Hawthorne 11, GWS 12. North Melbourne versus Brisbane Lions. They should take care of this one quite easily. They win by 48 points. West Coast versus Richmond at Optus Stadium. This is a tough one. The West Coast Eagles win by 2 goals. And they continue their push towards the top 8 at the end of the season. Brisbane versus Geelong at the Gabba. Brisbane Lions get their revenge. They win by 20 points and they hit the top of the ladder. Wow. Carlton versus Adelaide. They don't want to have the same mistake as they made last season where they lost to Adelaide Crows, and they will not do that. They'll win by 15 points. It will be a bit of a struggle. Collingwood versus Fremantle. This is a tough one. This pretty much makes someone's season. Look, they're on the pretty much same. Collingwood are going to edge them out. They win it by 14 points, and they get that break a little bit. Essendon versus Melbourne. Melbourne come in strong, and they win by 30 points. They're really going to push for that top 8 at the end of this season. GWS versus Hawthorne now. GWS looking hungry. At Giant Stadium, they do well. North Melbourne versus Gold Coast. Matty Rao, my boy. They win by 15 points, and they're slowly starting to climb. Richmond versus St Kilda, MCG. 22-point winners. Oh, that makes St Kilda drop a little bit. Port Adelaide versus Sydney. Port Adelaide is like, hey, give us that. West Coast versus Western Bulldogs. This is a huge game for both sides. Bulldogs going to take one here at Optus Stadium. That's a very big win. That is a huge win. Collingwood versus St Kilda at the MCG. This is a big, huge game for both teams here. Whoever loses could drop out the 8. Unfortunately, Collingwood just won't have that enough talent. And 20-point winners. St Kilda jump into 5th. It's going crazy. Geelong versus Essendon, Cardinia Park. 23-point winners for them. They take back first spot on the ladder. Gold Coast versus Richmond. And would you believe it? The Tigers win again by 4 goals. Essendon, Gold Coast switch around. Hawthorne versus Port Adelaide at the Docklands. Port Adelaide need to do well here. They win by 22 points and they become top of the ladder. Wow. Melbourne versus GWS at the MCG. Melbourne are coming. They win by 17 points. They are coming. They're coming home hard. Sydney versus West Coast SCG. West Coast need a big win. They win by 32 points. Western Bulldogs versus North Melbourne at the Docklands. But Western Bulldogs like, hey, we need that spot. They take it right back. Adelaide versus Brisbane Lions. Brisbane Lions say like, hey, we want the top spot on the ladder. They win by 23 points and they take that top spot on the ladder. This is a huge game. Fremantle versus Perth at Optus Stadium. Both teams looking to get inside the 8. A tough one, and it is a 1-point win to... Who it is it to? Who is it to? It is to... It will be to Fremantle. Huge win. Brisbane versus St Kilda. Brisbane win by 17 points. They maintain that top spot on the ladder. Carlton versus Geelong. Huge win. Geelong by 20 points. Essendon versus Adelaide Crows at Marvel Stadium. Essendon get the win by 20 points. GWS versus Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast Suns still won by 25 points. I don't know how. They just do. Hawthorne versus Fremantle. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. Unfortunately, they had a great win last week, that 1-point win. Hawthorne come back and get that 14-point win. Now Richmond versus Collingwood at the MCG. Should be a tough game. Richmond edge them out by 10 points. Western Bulldogs versus Sydney. We're getting down to the dodgy end of the competition. They need to get wins now, every team. Bulldogs win by 30. Port Adelaide versus Melbourne. Port Adelaide win by 21 in a bit of an arm wrestle. West Coast versus North Melbourne. West Coast like, hey, we need to pump them the best we can. They win by 50. Collingwood versus Carlton. MCG. Huge contest today. And would you believe it? Carlton get that win, get that loss back, and they win by 5. Collingwood sliding at the last hurdle. Gold Coast Suns versus Western Bulldogs. Huge game. Western Bulldogs try to do well. They don't kick straight and they only win by 21 points. It's a huge thing there. They jump into the top 4. GWS versus Sydney. Greater Western Sydney win by 23 points. They're trying to climb into the top 8 at the very end of the season. Round 18 now. Melbourne versus Hawthorne. Hawthorne have been on a bit of a slide of late. They come back and they jump into 11th. I think they're going to leave it too late though. North Melbourne versus Essendon. Essendon are out of the hunt. They win by 13 points though. Richmond versus Brisbane. MCG. Grand final type atmosphere. And that's how it feels. They win by 18 points. The Tigers, they jump into the top 4. St Kilda versus Port Adelaide at the Docklands. St Kilda struggling a little bit in this game. But would you believe it? A 7-point win to St Kilda changes a lot of things in that top 4. Adelaide versus West Coast at Adelaide Oval. They get the win. West Coast get the win by 38 points. I feel like they've versed them a couple of times. Fremantle versus Geelong. Geelong win by 29. They take back top spot. Carlton versus North Melbourne. Carlton try to put the Jets on the North Melbourne Kangaroos. They can't seem to do it, but they jump into 9th spot. Essendon versus GWS. Huge win for whoever gets it here. And it is going to be the Giants by 24 points. They jump into 11th. Geelong versus Richmond. Huge clash. Huge clash. Richmond get the win by 15 points. And they assert their dominance like, hey, we're still here. We're still trying to protect our flag. Gold Coast versus Melbourne. Melbourne get the win by 24 points. They jump into 11th. Very end of the season. Hawthorne versus Brisbane. Upset galore. 20 points. Hawthorne gets the win. Brisbane, that hurts. Another upset happens here. Sydney wins by 13 points. Upset round. Western Bulldogs versus Adelaide. Do I do upset round? No, I don't. Bulldogs win by 35 points. They jump into the top 4. Port Adelaide are sliding, but they have Collingwood and they win by 30. And they jump into top spot. Wow. West Coast Eagles versus St Kilda. Round 19. St Kilda are sliding massively, but it's at Optus Stadium and they win by 27 points. Brisbane versus Gold Coast. Brisbane win by 50. They jump up at the top. Collingwood versus West Coast at the MCG. Tough game. West Coast need a win and they get it. Essendon versus Sydney. Another bit of an upset here. Sydney get the win and they win by 6 points. GWS versus Port Adelaide. Huge contest here. GWS take one by 9 points. And that is a big change in everything. Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. MCG, and would you believe it? Melbourne win by 13 points. They jump into 9th. North Melbourne versus Geelong. North Melbourne win by 20, just joking. Geelong win by 48 points. They take top spot on the ladder. St Kilda versus Carlton, round 20. Carlton win by... No, they don't. St Kilda win by 29 points. Adelaide versus Hawthorne at Adelaide Oval. Adelaide get the win by 16 points there. Fremantle versus Richmond at Optus Stadium. Richmond get the win by 26. They jump into 2nd. Brisbane Lions versus Fremantle at the Gabba. 27-point win. Ners. Carlton versus Gold Coast. Carlton win by 19 points. They jump... Whoa! Carlton jumps into the 8. Huge scenes. Geelong versus GWS. Cardinia Park. Huge game. Geelong win by 26. They take back that top spot. Hawthorne versus Collingwood. Hawthorne just lost to Adelaide Crows. I think they did. But would you believe it? They lose again. And Collingwood get the win. And they get back in the 8, Collingwood. Richmond versus North Melbourne. Richmond struggle. They win by 15 points. But they struggle in that one. Sydney versus St Kilda. Sydney need the win. And they will get the win. 26 points the margin. Western Bulldogs versus Essendon at Marvel Stadium. Bulldogs good at Marvel. They win by 32 points. They jump into the top 4. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. Just what Port Adelaide needed. And they smack them. 64-point winners. Port Adelaide are struggling. West Coast versus Melbourne. A 10-point win to West Coast against Melbourne. They jump into the top 5. Collingwood versus Brisbane at Marvel Stadium. The Lions win by 9 points in a close one. They take top spot on the ladder. Geelong versus St Kilda, Cardinia Park. Geelong does outperform them by 23 points there. They're switching between those two very, very much. Gold Coast versus Essendon. Gold Coast get a win by 24 points as well. GWS versus Richmond at the Giant Stadium. Richmond get the win by 16. Hawthorne versus Western Bulldogs. Huge contest today. Bulldogs going to win by 23 points. They jump into top 4. Melbourne versus Adelaide at the MCG. Melbourne win by 38 points. They jump into 9th. North Melbourne versus Sydney. North Melbourne get the win. Adelaide are like, no, don't leave us in the dust. Port Adelaide versus Carlton. Port Adelaide win by 26 points. They jump into the top 4. Fremantle versus West Coast. West Coast win by 18 points. They jump into 5th. Brisbane versus West Coast. Brisbane win by 27. They take top spot. Carlton versus GWS. No, Carlton are going to maintain... Oh, this is a tough one. Last round. Oh, this is huge. This is huge. This is huge. If GWS win, their percentage isn't there. Neither are Carlton's. Unfortunately, Carlton are going to win by 16 points. They jump into the 8. If Collingwood or Melbourne don't win this game, this is huge. Collingwood. Essendon versus Collingwood at the MCG. Who gets the win? This is big. Essendon could ruin Collingwood's chances. It could ruin Collingwood's chances. Unfortunately, Collingwood sneak out a victor. They become in the 8th spot. But this is a huge win. And unfortunately, Melbourne try their hardest to make a finals berth. But Geelong, too good in the end. They win by 13 points. And that breaks the Melbourne Demons fans' hearts. Richmond versus Hawthorne. Richmond really showing and revamping up for the finals. They win by 40 points and they come 2nd. St Kilda versus Fremantle. Fremantle have lost touch. St Kilda trying to get into the top. They're really a bit behind the ball, aren't they? They're going to win the game by 11 points, but it doesn't change anything. And then Sydney versus Gold Coast. Sydney get another win. They win by 10 points. They jump up to 14th now, the Sydney Swans. They're starting to get some momentum, that young core. Western Bulldogs versus Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. Huge contest. Doesn't change much. Western Bulldogs could jump over West Coast. It doesn't change much though. Port Adelaide win by 9 points. And Adelaide versus North Melbourne. Huge win. And Adelaide Crows win by 11 points. But now we move into the finals. Qualifying final. Geelong versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide beat Geelong and they get a home prelim. Elimination final. Same thing as last time. Whoa. Did I do exactly the same ladder as last time, pretty much? I kind of did. I think I have all the same teams. Okay. I got all the same teams. I don't know how that happened. We got West Coast versus Geelong. West Coast get the win this time. Then Bulldogs versus St Kilda. St Kilda got the win last time. Bulldogs are going to get the win this time. Sorry, St Kilda fans. And then, of course, qualifying final 2. Richmond get the win. Now, Brisbane versus Western Bulldogs. We'll do this one first. Geelong versus West Coast Eagles. Geelong get the win. Oh, that's an interesting game. That's interesting. Then Brisbane versus Western Bulldogs. Oh. Brisbane get the win. It's looking good. The same top 4 teams. Port Adelaide at home against Brisbane Lions at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide get into a grand final. Richmond versus Geelong. Richmond win. Port Adelaide versus Richmond grand final. Richmond make the back-to-back premiers and they get another one and they continue their dynasty. Damn. That's how it goes. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you want more. I'm out now. Peace.